The main council chamber buzzed with angry voices. 47 different alien species sat around the massive circular table, and most of them were mad. The Galactic Council had been meeting for 3 days straight, and they kept talking about the same thing over and over again. Humans. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat quietly in her chair. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. Around her, aliens with tentacles, scales, and strange glowing parts argued in loud voices. Some banged their fists on the table. Others made clicking sounds that meant they were very upset. The humans have been hiding their best technology for too long, said High Counselor Vextar of the Zalathi hegemony. His blue skin was darker than usual, which meant he was angry. We have given them everything. Trade routes, protection, knowledge from our libraries. But what do they give us back? Nothing important. Several other council members made sounds that meant they agreed. The Vorthak representative, a tall gray creature with 4 arms, stood up slowly. The Vorthak Collective has analyzed human behavior for 50 Earth years. They share small things with us. Better ways to grow food, new medicine that works well. But their best weapons? Their fastest ships? Their strongest shields? They keep these things hidden. Sarah Chen listened to everything but said nothing. She had heard all of this before. For months, the council had been getting more and more upset about human technology. They wanted to know how human ships could travel so fast. They wanted to understand how human weapons could be so small but so powerful. They wanted to learn how human computers could think almost like living beings. But humans had always said no to sharing these things. Look at what happened last month, said another council member. This one looked like a giant bug with purple wings. The Kratari pirates attacked 3 of our trade ships. Who stopped them? Humans. One small human ship destroyed an entire pirate fleet. How did they do this? They will not tell us. More angry sounds filled the room. Sarah Chen knew they were right about one thing. Human technology was much better than what they shared with the council, but they had good reasons for keeping some things secret. The Zalathi High Counselor stood up. He was very tall, almost 3 meters, and his voice was loud and deep. We have been patient for too long. The human species joined our council 35 years ago. We welcomed them. We protected them. We gave them access to all our knowledge, but they treat us like we cannot be trusted. That is not true, Sarah Chen said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken all day. The room became quiet. All eyes turned to look at her. Then prove it, said the Vorthak representative. Share your real technology with us. Show us how your ships work. Teach us how to make your weapons. If you trust us, act like it. Sarah Chen stood up slowly. She was much smaller than most of the aliens in the room, but something about her made everyone pay attention. We have shared many things with the council. Our medical knowledge has saved millions of lives across the galaxy. Our farming methods have ended hunger on 12 worlds. Our diplomacy has stopped 6 wars before they could start. Small things, the Zalathi said with anger in his voice. You give us small things while keeping the important things for yourselves. This makes us think you believe we are not good enough for your real secrets. The room erupted in noise again. Voices in dozens of languages filled the air. Sarah Chen waited for the noise to stop. When it finally did, she spoke again. Every species in this council has the right to keep some things private. The Zalathi have never shared their mind control technology with anyone. The Vorthak keep their time dilation research secret. The Nefru will not tell us how they can see into the future. Why should humans be different? Because, said the Zalathi High Counselor, his voice getting louder, those technologies are not needed for the protection of the galaxy. Your technology is, when pirates attack, we call humans. When unknown ships appear in our space, we call humans. When ancient machines wake up and start causing trouble, we call humans. You have made yourselves necessary, and now you use that to control us. Sarah Chen looked around the room. She could see that most of the council members agreed with the Zalathi. Some looked angry. Others looked sad. A few looked scared. We have never tried to control anyone, she said. We help because it is the right thing to do. We share what we can safely share. Some things are too dangerous to give to everyone. Too dangerous for us, but not for humans. The bug-like council members' wings buzzed with anger. You think you are better than us. You think we are children who cannot handle grown-up toys. The Vorthak representative raised all 4 of his arms. The collective has made a decision. We will give the humans one choice. Share all your technology with the council or face the consequences. What consequences? Sarah Chen asked. Her voice was still calm, but there was something different about it now. The Zalathi High Counselor smiled. It was not a nice smile. No more trade licenses for human ships. No more access to Council space stations. No more protection under Council law. You will be alone in the galaxy until you decide to cooperate. Other Council members started nodding. Some looked excited. Others looked worried, but they stayed quiet. You are also required to turn over all your military and scientific databases to the Council within 30 standard days, the Vorthak added. This is not a request. This is an order. Sarah Chen stood quietly for a long moment. The entire room waited for her answer. Outside the big windows of the Council chamber, they could see the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the human homeworld. Somewhere out there were human colonies and human ships and millions of human people. I need to talk to my government, Sarah Chen said finally. You have 24 hours, the Zalathi High Counselor said. After that we start cutting off all human access to Council facilities. Sarah Chen nodded once. She picked up her small bag and walked toward the door. Her steps were quiet on the metal floor. Just before she reached the exit, she stopped and turned around. The Council has made its position very clear, she said. We will make ours clear tomorrow. After she left, the Council chamber was quiet for several minutes. Then the talking started again. Some members were excited about finally getting human technology. Others worried about what would happen if the humans said no. The Zalathi High Counselor was very pleased with himself. In his mind, humans would have no choice but to give up their secrets. They needed the Council more than the Council needed them. Or so he thought. None of them noticed the small device that Sarah Chen had left under her chair. It was no bigger than a coin, and it was already sending everything they said to ships hidden in dark space far from the Council station. The humans had been ready for this day for a very long time. The next morning, Sarah Chen walked back into the Council chamber. She carried the same small bag and wore the same quiet expression. But something felt different. The Council members could sense it, even though they could not say what had changed. She stood at the speaking platform in the center of the room. All 47 species watched her carefully. The Zalathi High Counselor leaned forward in his chair, expecting to hear humans beg for mercy or ask for more time. The United Earth government has considered the Council's demands, Sarah Chen said. Her voice was clear and calm. Our answer is no. The room exploded with noise. Aliens shouted in their own languages. Some stood up and waved their arms or tentacles. The Zalathi High Counselor's blue skin turned almost black with rage. Then you have chosen to be alone, he said loudly. Guards, escort all human representatives off this station immediately. Sarah Chen nodded once. We understand. All human personnel will leave Council facilities within 6 hours. 6 hours? The Vorthak representative sounded surprised. Do you not want to negotiate? Ask for more time? Try to find a compromise? No, Sarah Chen said simply. We respect the Council's decision. We hope the Council will respect ours. She walked out of the chamber without another word. The Council members sat in confused silence. They had expected humans to fight the decision. They had prepared for angry words and desperate pleas. They had not expected calm acceptance. Within 4 hours, something strange started happening across the galaxy. On every Council station, every research facility, every diplomatic outpost, humans began packing their things. They did not argue. They did not complain. They did not ask for extensions or special exceptions. They just left. Dr. Marcus Webb closed down his laboratory on Research Station Gamma 7. For 8 years, he had worked with Nefru scientists to develop new medicines. The Nefru expected him to protest or try to hide his research. Instead, he carefully deleted all his files, packed his personal items, and said goodbye to his alien colleagues. But what about the cancer research? Asked Dr. Zefali, his Nefru partner. We are so close to a breakthrough. Surely you can stay just a few more weeks. Marcus shook his head. I cannot. The Council has made its choice. I wish you luck with your research. The same scene played out thousands of times across the galaxy. Human traders closed their businesses and left. Human diplomats ended their missions and went home. Human soldiers abandoned their posts at Council military bases. Most shocking of all, the humans took nothing that belonged to the Council. They left behind expensive equipment. They abandoned half-finished projects. They even left their own research that had been done using Council resources. But they took all their people. 3 days after the ultimatum, the last human ship left Council space. The galaxy suddenly felt much quieter. At first, the Council members were happy. "Good," said the Zalathi High Counselor during an emergency meeting. "Now they will learn that they need us more than we need them. When their economy collapses and their colonies start having problems, they will come back and beg to give us their technology." But weeks passed and the humans did not come back. Worse, problems started appearing everywhere. The trade route between the Zalathi hegemony and the Vorthak collective became much slower. It had been designed by human mathematicians who understood how to move ships through space in the most efficient way. Without human help, cargo ships took twice as long to make the same journey. On Research Station Gamma 7, Dr. Zefali stared at screens full of numbers he could not understand. The cancer research had stopped completely. All the data was there, but it was written in human scientific language that was too complex for other species to follow quickly. 3 different wars started in the Outer Rim. For 15 years, human diplomats had been quietly solving disputes between small species before they became big problems. Without humans to mediate, old arguments turned into shooting wars. The Council tried to handle these problems themselves, but everything took much longer than before. The Zalathi military was strong, but they were not as fast as human peacekeepers. The Vorthak were smart, but their computers could not process trade routes as efficiently as human systems. After 6 weeks, strange reports started coming in from the galaxy's edge. Scout ships reported finding empty space where pirate bases used to be. The infamous Krathari clan, which had raided trade ships for decades, had simply vanished. Their home asteroid had been abandoned with no signs of fighting or struggle. "Where did they go?" asked a Nefru scout captain during a council briefing. "We do not know," admitted the Zalathi military commander. "Our best guess is that they moved to a different part of the galaxy, but more pirate groups kept disappearing. The Bloodclaw fleet, the Void Hunters, the Red Star Raiders, all gone. Their bases were empty. Their ships were nowhere to be found, and no one could explain what had happened to them. Even stranger, several aggressive species that had been expanding into Council territory suddenly stopped. The Karn Empire, which had been taking over small worlds for years, pulled all their forces back to their home systems. The Devourer swarms, hive-minded insects that consumed everything in their path, changed direction and flew away from Council space. When the Council sent investigation teams to find out why, they found nothing. No battles had been fought. No treaties had been signed. These dangerous species had just decided to go somewhere else. "It makes no sense," said the Vorthak representative during another emergency meeting. "Why would aggressive species suddenly become peaceful? What changed?" The Zalathi High Counselor was getting worried, but he tried not to show it. "Perhaps they are planning something bigger. We should increase our border patrols." But even the border patrols were having problems. Council ships kept reporting strange sensor readings in empty space. Energy signatures that appeared and disappeared without explanation. Gravity waves that suggested massive objects were moving through areas where nothing could be seen. "Could it be some kind of new weapon?" asked a nervous council member. "From who?" the Vorthak replied. "The only species with technology that advanced would be—" He stopped talking as he realized what he was about to say. Humans. But humans were supposed to be gone. They had left Council space and gone back to their own little corner of the galaxy. They were supposed to be suffering without Council trade and protection. They were supposed to be ready to come back and surrender their technology. Instead, the galaxy was changing in ways the Council could not understand or control. 3 months after the humans left, the Council faced a terrible truth. They had thought they were in charge of the galaxy, but they were not. They had thought they understood how everything worked, but they did not. The humans had been doing much more than anyone realized. And now that they were gone, the Council was starting to see just how much they had depended on human help. But it was too late to take back their ultimatum. The humans were not answering any messages from Council space. The silence was becoming very frightening. 6 months had passed since the humans left Council space. The Galactic Council was in chaos. 3 major trade wars had started when shipping routes collapsed. The Zalathi hegemony was losing money every day because their cargo ships could not find efficient paths through space. The Vorthak collective's carefully organized supply chains had broken down completely, but the worst problems were the ones the Council had never seen before. Ancient security systems that had been quiet for centuries were waking up. On the edge of Nefru space, automated defense platforms had started attacking any ship that came too close. In the Zalathi outer colonies, mining robots had gone crazy and were digging in all the wrong places. How did this happen? Demanded the Zalathi High Counselor during another emergency session. These systems have been stable for hundreds of years. The truth was beginning to become clear, but none of the council members wanted to admit it. Humans had been quietly maintaining these old systems. They had been preventing problems before anyone else even knew the problems existed. Dr. Zeph from Research Station Gamma 7 had been trying to contact human scientists for months. All his messages went unanswered. Finally, he decided to travel to the edge of council space to look for them. What he found changed everything. At the border between council territory and unaligned space, his ship detected strange energy readings. When he investigated, he discovered something impossible. There was a massive space station where empty space should have been. But his sensors said nothing was there. Computer, run full spectrum analysis, he ordered his ship. The results made no sense. According to some sensors, there was nothing but empty void. According to others, there was a structure bigger than most moons. The readings kept changing, as if the station was there and not there at the same time. As his ship got closer, space around him began to shimmer like water. Suddenly, the station became visible. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The hull was made of materials that seemed to bend light around them. Energy flowed through the structure in patterns that hurt to look at. A voice came through his communication system. It spoke perfect Nefru, but with a human accent. Dr. Zefali, this is Commander Elena Vasquez of the Free Association vessel Harmony. You are cleared to dock at Bay 7. Welcome to Nexus Station. Zefali's hands shook as he piloted his ship toward the docking bay. Free Association? He had never heard of such an organization. And how did they know his name? The docking bay was huge, filled with ships from dozens of species. But most of them were not species he recognized from the Council. There were small, fast ships with designs he had never seen. There were massive cargo vessels that looked like they could carry entire cities. And there were sleek warships that seemed to be made of liquid metal. Commander Vasquez met him at the airlock. She was a tall human woman with kind eyes and silver hair. Behind her stood representatives from several species, including some that Zeph Ali thought were extinct. Dr. Zeph Ali, she said with a smile, we have been waiting for you to find us. Would you like to see what we have been building? She led him through corridors that defied physics. Gravity changed direction smoothly as they walked. The walls showed views of space that could not be real. He could see stars that were millions of light years away as if they were right outside. How is this possible? He asked. Human engineering combined with knowledge from our friends, Elena replied. The Thrikari taught us how to fold space. The Epsilon nomads showed us how to manipulate gravity. The Void Dancers gave us the secrets of dimensional phasing. But these species are primitives, Zefali said, then immediately felt embarrassed for being rude. Elena laughed. The council thought they were primitives. We learned they were simply different. The Thrikari have been masters of space-time for millennia. The Epsilon nomads understand physics in ways that make our best scientists look like children. The Void Dancers exist partially outside normal reality. They entered a vast chamber filled with beings from hundreds of species. Many were completely unknown to council science. They were working together on projects that seemed impossible. A group of crystalline beings was growing what looked like living starships. Creatures made of pure energy were teaching others how to manipulate matter with thought alone. This is the Free Association, Elena said. While the council was demanding our secrets, we were learning from species they ignored. While they were trying to control us, we were building something better. Zefali could barely speak. How long has this been going on? 40 years, Elena replied. Ever since we joined the council, we knew this day might come. We prepared for it. She showed him manufacturing facilities that could build anything from tiny computer chips to massive spaceships. She showed him research labs where the laws of physics were being rewritten. She showed him agricultural stations that could feed billions of people using technology that seemed like magic. The council species are welcome to join us, Elena said, but only as equals. No one rules the Free Association. No one demands technology from others. We share what we can, when we can, because we trust each other. What about the threats to council space? Zefali asked. The pirate raids, the aggressive species, the ancient systems going wrong? Elena's expression became serious. We have been protecting the galaxy for decades. When pirates attack anyone, we stop them. When aggressive species threaten peaceful worlds, we convince them to go elsewhere. When ancient machines malfunction, we fix them. But why? The Council threw you out. Because it is right, Elena said simply. We do not protect the galaxy because someone orders us to. We do it because it needs to be done. Zefali thought about all the problems the Council was facing. All the systems that had failed. All the threats that had appeared from nowhere. The Council needs your help, he said quietly. The Council made its choice, Elena replied. They decided they could not trust us. So we found others who could. She led him to an observation deck where he could see the full scope of the station. Ships were arriving and departing constantly. Some were bringing raw materials from distant star systems. Others were carrying finished goods to colonies he had never heard of. A few were returning from missions to places the Council had thought were empty space. We are not hiding from the galaxy, Elena said. We are building a better one. The Council is welcome to join us, but they must accept that they are not in charge of everything. Zefali spent 3 days on Nexus Station. He saw technology that was centuries ahead of anything the Council possessed. He met species with abilities that seemed like magic. He watched humans working alongside beings that Council science said could not exist. When it was time for him to leave, Helena gave him a small device. This will let you contact us if the Council ever wants to talk, she said. But tell them this. We will not surrender our technology to anyone. We will not accept ultimatums from anyone, and we will not go back to being treated like children who cannot be trusted with the truth. Zefali returned to Council space with his mind full of wonders and fears. He had found the humans, but they were no longer the same species that had left 6 months ago. They had become something more, something that the Council had never imagined. Possible, the question now was whether the Council would be wise enough to admit they had made a terrible mistake, or whether they would be too proud to ask for help from the people they had tried to control. Dr. Zefali's report caused panic in the Council chambers. Impossible, said the Zalathi High Counselor, his blue skin turning pale. Humans could not have built such technology in just 6 months. They did not build it in 6 months, Zefali replied quietly. They have been building it for 40 years. While we thought they were junior members of our council, they were creating an entire civilization we knew nothing about. The Vorthak representative's forearms trembled as he processed the information. The Free Association has over 300 member species? How is this possible? We have explored the entire galaxy. No, Zefali said. We explored the parts of the galaxy we thought were important. We ignored species we thought were primitive. We avoided regions we thought were empty. The humans found value where we saw nothing. For days, the Council debated what to do. Some members wanted to declare war on the Free Association. Others wanted to pretend nothing had changed. A few suggested trying to negotiate, but most were too proud to admit they had made a mistake. Meanwhile, the problems in Council space were getting worse. The ancient AI network in the galactic core had fully awakened. Massive machines that had been sleeping for millions of years were beginning to move. They were not hostile, but they were disrupting hyperspace routes and sending strange signals across the galaxy. We need to send a fleet to investigate, demanded the Zalathi military commander. With what ships? Replied the Vorthak admiral. Half our fleet is dealing with the pirate crisis in the Outer Rim. The other half is trying to stop 3 different wars that started when our trade routes collapsed. The pirate crisis was getting desperate. Without humans to stop them, criminal organizations had grown bold. They were attacking major shipping lanes and even threatening council worlds. Worse, they seemed to have new technology that made them faster and harder to catch. How did common pirates get such advanced ships? Asked a nervous council member. The answer came from an unexpected source. A captured pirate leader, brought before the council for questioning, laughed at their confusion. You think we are just thieves? He said with a sneer. We work for the Devourers now. They promised us the galaxy once they finished consuming the council worlds. This news sent shockwaves through the chamber. The Devourer swarms were not just leaving council space. They were preparing to attack it, and they were building an army of criminals to help them. Where are the Devourers hiding? Demanded the Zalathi High Counselor. Everywhere, the pirate replied, in dark space between the stars. In empty systems you never bothered to explore. They have been growing for months, feeding on worlds you never knew existed. Emergency meetings were called. Military leaders shouted at each other. Diplomats tried to contact other galactic powers for help, but every solution required resources the Council no longer had. "We need better ships," said the military commanders. "Our fleet cannot fight the Devourers with current technology." "We need better information," said the intelligence officers. "We cannot track enemies we cannot detect." "We need help," said the diplomats. "We cannot handle this crisis alone, but who could help them?" The only species with technology advanced enough to fight the Devourers was humanity, and humanity was no longer answering their calls. The Zalathi High Counselor made a desperate decision. He ordered a secret mission to human space. A small diplomatic ship would try to contact Earth directly and ask for military assistance. The ship never made it to Earth. 3 days after entering what used to be human territory, the diplomatic vessel sent back a confused report. They had found Earth, but it was not where it was supposed to be. The entire solar system had been moved. Moved? The Vorthak representative could not believe what he was hearing. "You cannot move a star system." "The star is in the same place," reported the ship's captain, "but all the planets are gone. There is a note left behind written in galactic common language. It says, 'Gone to build something better. Do not follow.'" The council sat in stunned silence. Humans had not just left council space. They had taken their entire civilization and vanished into the unknown parts of the galaxy. As if this news was not bad enough, more reports started coming in. The stellar parasites that humans had been secretly containing for decades were spreading to new star systems. These creatures fed on solar energy and could drain a star in just a few years. Ancient weapon platforms that had been dormant for eons were activating across the galaxy. Without human maintenance codes, these systems were treating everyone as enemies. Most terrifying of all, deep space monitoring stations detected something massive approaching from the galactic edge. Long-range sensors suggested it was a hive mind species that had been sleeping between galaxies. It was bigger than anything the Council had ever faced. "How did humans know about all these threats?" asked a frightened Council member. "They did not just know about them," Zefali said sadly. "They were protecting us from them. For decades, they were fighting battles we never knew existed and solving problems we never saw coming." The Vorthak representative calculated quickly. If the parasites continue spreading at their current rate, they will reach core Council worlds in 8 months. The weapon platforms will take 6 months to become fully active. The approaching hive mind will arrive in 1 year. "And the Devourer swarms?" asked the Zalathi High Counselor. 3 months, maybe less." The room fell silent. The greatest civilization in the galaxy, the proud Galactic Council that had ruled for thousands of years, was facing destruction from multiple threats at once, and the only people who could help them had vanished into dark space. "We could surrender to the Free Association," suggested one council member quietly. Several others made angry sounds, but no one had a better idea. "Surrender to whom?" replied another. "We do not even know where they are." The small device that Elena Vasquez had given to Zefali sat on the table in front of him. It had not been activated since his return. He picked it up and turned it over in his hands. "There is one way to contact them," he said. "Do it," said the Zalathi High Counselor. His pride was finally broken by fear. Zefali activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a hologram appeared above the table. It showed Elena Vasquez, but she looked older and more tired than before. "Dr. Zefali," she said, "I was wondering when you would call." "Commander Vasquez," the Zalathi High Counselor interrupted. "The Council needs to speak with human leadership immediately. We face multiple galactic-level threats that require immediate cooperation." Elena's expression did not change. "I know about the threats. We have been monitoring the situation." "Then you know we need your help," the Vorthak representative said. "Yes," Elena replied. "You need our help. The question is, what are you willing to do to get it?" The council members looked at each other. They were not used to being in such a weak position. "What do you want?" asked the Zalathi High Counselor. Elena smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We want what we always wanted. To be treated as equals, not subjects. To have our choices respected, not overruled. To share the galaxy with partners, not masters. The Council is willing to negotiate," the Vorthak said carefully. "The Council no longer exists," Elena replied, "at least not as you knew it. When you forced us to choose between surrender and independence, you broke the old order. Now we must build a new one. The hologram flickered and went dark, leaving the council in darkness and despair. The message came 3 days later, broadcast simultaneously to every council world, every space station, and every ship in council territory. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Free Association Fleet," the transmission began. Sarah Chen looked older than when she had been the human ambassador, but her voice was strong and clear. "We are transmitting coordinates for a meeting. Any species that wishes to discuss galactic security matters may send representatives. You have 48 hours to decide." The coordinates led to a place that should have been empty space on the edge of council territory. When the first scout ships arrived, they found something that made their crews gasp in amazement. A space station the size of a small moon hung in the void. But this was not like the Nexus station that Dr. Zafali had visited. This structure was partially transparent, as if it existed in several dimensions at once. Ships could be seen moving through what looked like solid walls. Energy patterns flowed around the station like living rivers of light. "How many people live there?" asked a Zalathi scout captain. "Unknown," replied his sensors officer. "The station appears to be bigger inside than outside. Our instruments cannot get accurate readings." One by one, representatives from 43 of the original council species arrived at the station. The Zalathi High Counselor came in his most impressive warship. The Vorthak Collective sent their most skilled diplomats. Even species that rarely left their homeworld sent someone to the meeting. They were not prepared for what they found inside. The main conference hall was vast, with seating for hundreds of representatives. But most of the seats were already taken by species that the council had never seen before. Strange beings made of crystal and light sat next to creatures that looked like living metals. Gaseous entities floated in special containment fields, while energy beings danced in patterns that hurt to watch. At the center of it all sat Admiral Sarah Chen. She was no longer the quiet ambassador who had been dismissed from the council chamber. She wore a uniform that seemed to be made of liquid starlight, and her presence filled the room with calm authority. "Welcome," she said, and her voice somehow reached every being in the hall, translated perfectly into their native languages. "Some of you we have worked with before. Others we meet for the first time. All of you are here because your species faces the same threats that endanger the galaxy." She gestured, and holographic displays showed the approaching dangers. The devourer swarms now revealed to be much larger than anyone had imagined. The stellar parasites spreading like an infection across populated star systems. The ancient weapon platforms, their targeting systems corrupted by centuries of neglect. And the massive hive mind approaching from dark space between galaxies. "These threats have existed for a long time," Sarah continued. "The Free Association has been monitoring and containing them for decades, but recent events have made containment impossible." "What recent events?" demanded the Zalathi High Counselor. Sarah looked directly at him. "When the Council forced humanity to leave, you disrupted the careful balance that had kept these threats under control. Ancient systems that required human oversight codes began to malfunction. Containment fields that needed constant maintenance started to fail. Warning networks that had operated in secret for 40 years went dark." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. The Council's ultimatum had not just driven away their most advanced allies. It had triggered a galactic crisis. "We did not know," said the Vorthak representative quietly. "You never asked," replied Sarah. "You demanded our technology, but never wondered why we used it. You wanted our weapons, but never asked what we fought. You claimed to lead the galaxy, but never bothered to learn what threatened it." A new voice spoke up from the crowd of unknown species. It belonged to a being that looked like living starlight. "The Free Association has offered us something the Council never did. Partnership instead of domination. Knowledge shared freely instead of hoarded. Protection given willingly instead of demanded." More voices joined in. A crystalline creature spoke of how humans had helped their people escape extinction when their sun began to die. A gaseous entity described how the Free Association had taught them to communicate with solid matter species for the first time in their history. "You created an alliance while we thought you were powerless," the Zalathi High Counselor said with something like admiration in his voice. "We created a family," Sarah corrected. "The Free Association is not built on fear or force. It exists because we choose to work together for the good of all." "What do you want from us?" asked a small council representative whose species had barely spoken during 40 years of council membership. Sarah stood up, and the entire hall focused on her words. The old Galactic Council is finished. It was built on the idea that some species should rule others. That wisdom comes from power instead of understanding. That the galaxy belongs to whoever can take it by force. She paused, letting her words sink in. We offer you something different. A new organization based on equality and mutual respect. The Free Association welcomes all species, but only as partners. No one rules. No one demands. No one takes what is not freely given. And if we refuse? Asked the Zalathi High Counselor. Then you face the coming threats alone, Sarah replied simply. We will protect our member worlds and our allies, but we will not force anyone to accept our help. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some council species were angry at being asked to give up their authority. Others were frightened by the approaching dangers. A few were excited by the possibility of true partnership with species they had never imagined could exist. Finally, Dr. Zafali stood up. My species, the Nefru, formally requests membership in the Free Association. We renounce any claim to rule over others and accept the principle of equality among all sapient beings. His words started an avalanche. One by one, species after species stood up and made the same declaration. Some did it eagerly. Others did it reluctantly. But they all did it. When the Zalathi High Counselor finally stood, his blue skin had returned to its normal color. The Zalathi hegemonies, he began, then stopped and corrected himself. The Zalathi Republic requests membership in the Free Association. We have much to learn about working with others instead of commanding them. Sarah Chen smiled for the first time since the meeting began. Welcome to the future. The months that followed were difficult but hopeful. Free Association fleets, using technology that seemed like magic to former council species, fought back the devourer swarms and contained the stellar parasites. Ancient weapon platforms were reprogrammed or safely shut down. The approaching hive mind was contacted and convinced to settle in uninhabited star systems where they could grow without threatening others. The galaxy that emerged from this crisis was very different from the one that had existed before. Hundreds of species that had been ignored or oppressed by the old council became valued members of galactic civilization. Technologies that had been hoarded by powerful empires were shared freely among all who could use them responsibly. The former council species found the transition challenging but rewarding. The Zalathi discovered that cooperation was more effective than conquest. The Vorthak learned that their organizational skills were much more valuable when used to help everyone instead of controlling everyone. Years later, Sarah Chen stood in the same observation deck where she had once been a quiet ambassador, trying to keep peace between species that saw her people as useful but inferior. Now she was an elder stateswoman in a galactic community that included more diversity and wisdom than the old council had ever imagined possible. Do you ever regret how things turned out? Asked her granddaughter Elena, who was now a ship captain in the Free Association fleet. Sarah looked out at the stars, where ships from hundreds of species traveled freely between worlds that welcomed all visitors. The council made their choice when they decided that fear was stronger than trust. We made ours when we decided to find better company among the stars. She smiled as she watched a group of young beings from dozens of different species working together on a research project that would have been impossible under the old system. I think we chose well.